Welcome back to A Very Nice Day with Kelly Grace May. It is a very nice day because we're sat here with Olivia Landau, the founder of The Clear Cut, the brains behind any diamond that is on my finger, which is now 3 rings that I own from The Clear Cut because I'm indecisive. I'm so happy that you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to chat about all the things. I was telling you before, I want to split this into 2 parts because I'd be remiss if I did not ask you all of the questions about diamonds, etc., what we should know. So we will definitely dive into that. But to start, I just am fascinated by your journey to becoming an entrepreneur and starting The Clear Cut. How does one even become a gemologist? Can we just start there with how you got to becoming a gemologist?
Sure, yeah. So my family was in the diamond industry for 4 generations. So my dad's side of the family were from Antwerp, Belgium, which used to be a big diamond cutting and dealing area. My dad's dad and my great-grandfather, they were all diamond cutters and dealers. And then my dad moved to the States, met my mom, and they worked in antique jewelry. So I grew up around the industry, so I kind of knew about it. I never thought I would go into it because my parents said it was a terrible industry, don't do it, get a corporate job, go to college, do all of that. And then I graduated from NYU and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I always thought I wanted to work at a fashion magazine, and that's when print magazines were going kind of under. So I wanted to extend schooling a little bit. So I knew about GIA, which is the Gemological Institute of America. And I was I kind of want to enroll in the 6-month gemology program to get my degree, and maybe I'll go work in corporate at a jewelry company or something. So when I went there, I fell in love with diamonds and gemstones, and I guess it was in my blood all along. And while I was there, I also met my now husband and co-founder, Kyle.
That's where you met?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay, this is great. I'm just learning.
So it really worked out. My first job after graduating was at Tiffany here on 5th Avenue on the flagship store on the engagement floor. And that's when I really fell in love with working with bridal clients and diamonds specifically and engagement rings. At the same time, Kyle was just there for the summer, and so we were long distance for a year. He was working on a fair trade diamond mine in Sierra Leone.
Wow.
And he was there until the Ebola epidemic, later that year, and then he moved to New York. So it kind of coincides. So right after Tiffany, I started working at a large wholesale company in the diamond district here. And then when Kyle came back from Africa, he went to business school at Columbia. And a lot of his friends were like, hey, you were in the industry. Do you know a guy that can help me get a good deal on a ring? And since I was in wholesale, I was the go-to guy. Everyone was coming to me, and I would help them pick out their diamonds, create their custom rings. And through that, I started The Clear Cut as an educational blog in 2016 about diamonds.
Wow. I feel like this is not talked about enough. I love this origin story. I did not know that you met your husband at gemologist school.
I followed him home on the subway.
That's adorable. Only because it worked out.
Yeah, I stalked him.
No, I love that so much. She's persistent. And I did not know that The Clear Cut first started as a blog. So that was just a passion project at first.
It was a passion project. I was kind of bored-ish at work, and I loved working with private clients, our friends, but I kept repeating myself on the 4 C's, the do's and the don'ts. So I was let me just write this down and have people read about it before coming to work with me. And then I started posting some of the finished rings and designs on Instagram, and that's where strangers started following the account and asking if I could create their custom rings. So it turned into this accidental side hustle through Instagram DMs. And then a year later, I was like, holy crap, I sold over $1 million of engagement rings through Instagram DMs on the side on my lunch breaks, and there's probably a white space in the market.
Right. I could make this a business.
Yeah. So and he was in business school, and I was like, I can't do it. And he's like, maybe we should try doing it together.
Right. And that's the perfect storm of you both went to, school and you know the space, and then he went to business school, and then, he
knows business.
And you started the social media account. This is kind of the perfect storm for a business baby.
So that was our first child.
Yeah, so your first child, which you just had your second child. Congratulations. So how did you guys know this was the right thing to do together? I always get so fascinated when couples work together? And I have questions on that too.
I mean, he seemed pretty confident that I was the right thing to do together, but I did not because my parents work together and they are no longer together. So I was like, I will never go into business with my romantic partner, especially because we weren't engaged. Like, we were just dating. Like, we weren't married. So I was like, that's crazy. But we did it.
And successfully.
So far it worked out. Yeah. So we started the business not engaged. We were just dating. We got engaged and married and had our kid like through being in business together.
That is so wild. It really did all work out.
So far, yeah.
What is it like working with your husband? Like, do you guys like split things in terms of like, okay, I'm the creative brain, he's the business brain. Like, how does this work?
We do have like our specific like roles and responsibilities, and we kind of like respect those places, but we also do collaborate a lot and we talk about work like nonstop. So, but I think it's important to have those different types of skill sets. And that's why it works. So you don't like step on each other's toes too much. So I don't even know what's going on with like the accounting or like whatever. Like, he does that. I deal with like a lot more like production, like client things, like overseeing like our gemologist diamond stuff. But we do come together a lot when it comes to ideation in terms of like marketing, creative. He like sneakily has like really good ideas, but I'm like the executor on it, you know?
Okay, I love that he has a point of view though on that.
Everyone calls him Kyle Jenner. He is literally like the momager.
He's like a dadager. Yeah. I love that. I love that. Is it a challenge at all, like working with your partner in the sense of like going home and being able to like turn off work? This is something, again, that I'm fascinated about when couples work together. Like, how do you know when to just be like, we can't talk about work right now?
If it was up to him, we would talk about work 24/7, like from the moment we open our eyes to like the second we go to sleep.
Classic.
And I am better at turning off. Like, I need to turn off. I need to take the time to be like, let me just watch this reality show and like not talk about work for like an hour. But it like pains him to not do that. So majority of the time we are talking about work.
Honestly, I respect the honesty because that's how I would imagine it to be.
But we're passionate about it, and it's something that, you know, like we're working and towards building. So it's like something we like to talk about. So I don't think it's bad.
It's relevant to your everyday life. Like, you come, like Andy comes home from work and I'm like, how was your day? Or like, how was that meeting that you were talking about? I would be 10 times more invested if that was also the business that I was working on. So it makes total sense that there's a lot of conversations about work. I am like also curious just from an entrepreneurial perspective, because obviously you are very well versed in diamonds, as we know, but you're also an entrepreneur. And I'm curious now that you're a mom as well, like, how do you structure your life? How do you keep things in order, like organization wise? Because you have a lot on your plate.
It's gotten like way harder now that I have a baby, because his schedule is like number one and then my schedule like follows. So it just has to be, I'm just super, super structured with like every minute of my day, basically.
Are you type A?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, like, I'm not like super type A. Like, I can go with the flow a little bit, but I love plans and I thrive when I have a schedule.
Structure.
Yeah,
structure is important, but I just like, I suck at executing on making the structure. I need someone else to make structure for me. So that is like what freaks me out about, you know, potentially like starting a brand or a business one day.
I live and die like by what's on my calendar. Like, if it's not on my calendar, like, it's just like not gonna happen at all.
Do you have like little things inside your calendar too?
Yeah.
Like down to like, okay, like leave the house at this time. Like, I feel like that's how you make life work.
Yeah. I have like my workouts, like drop offs, like getting ready for things. Like,
no, that's smart.
I know.
I feel like I need that. Like, I need someone to come into my life and just be like, this is your day. Execute.
Yeah.
What are like the pros and cons of being an entrepreneur?
Pros are having control over like your schedule and like the flexibility to like kind of make your own schedule. And I can like go, like, if I have to go to Botswana next week, like, I'm gonna do that, or like do what, or like if I have to leave early from work, like, fine. So that's like the flexibility of also like not having anyone to answer to is nice, because like having someone tell me what to do, I don't know what I would do at this point.
Right.
The cons are you're never not working. Like, you're never really on a vacation ever. You're never really turned off ever. You have to hold so much stress and anxiety that you don't really want to like share with like your team or others, because you have to like be calm and like lead by example, and
Right.
everyone else's problems are your problems, but your problems are nobody's problems.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
But damn.
And you're responsible for a lot of people and a lot of things.
Right, and you like can't really show your cards when you're breaking down because you have to be like the leader.
And like being able to like pivot and being able to ride through like ups and downs and take responsibility for when other people make mistakes too, things like that.
Yeah, that's a lot, but you're doing great.
Thanks.
And I've met some of your team and they're all amazing. Like
Thank
I've
you.
been to the Clear Cut now a few times and every single person I come into contact with, including your husband, was lovely. Like 10 out of 10 recommend. Truly, great team.
Thank you.
Building
it means
a
a
team
lot
is
to me.
Building a team is also hard.
Oh, it's super hard. And managing people is like something that doesn't come naturally to me. So
What's important to you when you're like looking for prospective like employees?
I think it's changed a lot since the beginning. Like now I really want someone who is able and willing to like learn quickly. Like if they don't even have the skill sets today, if I can see like potential and like an eagerness to grow and learn, it's really great. Someone that has like a sense of responsibility and someone who I like to look for people who have had shitty jobs in the past so they would be grateful for where they are now.
And I'm sure there's a lot of that previous work history.
It's hard when you get like someone fresh out of school who's like or who's never like had a job or like even an internship that they've like experienced like a bad job before, because then they think like this is like the first time they're working. Like this is like an awesome situation.
Yes.
You have. You don't even know.
I feel like at this point, everyone I know has had a shitty work experience.
I've
and
had
like
so many before.
and like unfortunately, like if you haven't, like it's eventually gonna come. It's eventually gonna come. Like I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer. It's just like part of life and like your professional pipeline. Like you gotta kind of just be shit like in the mud sometimes.
It's good for your personal growth.
It is. It is. It's humbling, and we need to be humbled sometimes. So I want to shift gears to the diamonds of it all. And that is how I first met you, because most of my listeners probably know at this point that I lost my engagement ring like 8 months after we got engaged. I lost my engagement ring in my apartment. It was a whole thing. I've said on your podcast that I did actually that I wrote this whole story in my head about like a potential like someone found it in the garbage and then they proposed to like their girlfriend of a million years with this ring. So like I'm hopeful that ring is living a gorgeous life because it was a beautiful ring. But I lost my ring. I was having a panic attack. Andy was oddly so calm and so like chill about the whole thing. He was like, it's insured. Like, what's the big deal? I was like, well, I lost the most expensive thing that you've ever bought and that I've ever owned. So that's why I'm freaking out. I went through the process of the insurance and shout out Jewelers Mutual, even though they literally don't pay me and they honestly should because
They honestly should.
Like, reach out to me. Guys, I'm dying to do an ad. So I had Jewelers Mutual as my insurance, and basically the way Jewelers Mutual works is no money is exchanged between like you and Jewelers Mutual. Their goal is to replace your ring. And so they pay the jeweler that you choose to go with up to the amount of, what is it, like the
appraised value.
appraised value. So I started like, talking to people. I talked to Morgan Jones, whose ring I love, and she is the one who actually inspired me to get an emerald when I was like thinking about what I wanted when Andy proposed. So I asked her, I was like, how was your experience working with the Clear Cut? She was like, I love them so much. You have to go see Olivia. And that is how we met. And I came in and we went through all of the options. Everything was so beautiful. I eventually decided on, this ring, which was a little bigger than my original ring. And that is how we met. And I've been in love with the Clear Cut ever since. Both of my wedding bands are from there. I say both because I originally started with one and then I changed my mind and I wanted another. But I want to just like get a lay of the land because I am not very educated on diamonds. I am only educated on my experience working with you guys at the Clear Cut. So let's just like maybe do like to start the ABCs of diamonds for like a kindergartner.
The most important thing when you're shopping for a diamond is to first figure out what shape you want. Round brilliant is the most like classic common shape. That's like when you think of a diamond, like a round stone. That's also the only diamond that has a cut grade when you think about cut, because it's standardized in its cut. Everything else will be called a fancy shape. So like you have an emerald cut, that's a fancy shape, an oval, a cushion cut. So anything that isn't round.
Okay.
So I think it's figuring out what shape you like, trying things on, then figuring out, okay, what is my budget? What do I want to spend on this ring? And that's like really personal. There's no like right or wrong answer. There's no like rule. Some people spend more than like the 3-month salary or whatever. Some people spend way less. It's whatever fits your lifestyle. But once you set that budget, keep it, and then we can work within that to balance, like, it's the 4 C's. So it's the carat, which is how much the diamond physically weighs. It's not how big it looks. It's how much it weighs.
I didn't know that, actually.
It's all about the dimensions, like where it holds its weight. Then it's the color, how white the diamond is. So color starts at D, which is like super colorless, goes all the way down to Z in the white color scale. And each step down, there's like a little bit more like yellow or brown undertone. Then there's clarity, which is the natural inclusions in the diamond. So think of like little crystals and whatnot that get caught inside the diamond material during formation. Want to make sure that you don't have anything visible to the naked eye. A lot of times you can see these inclusions with a microscope, but when you look down, you don't want like any black spots or anything. And then cut, which refers to a round brilliance cut grade. So it's excellent, very good, good, fair, and poor, how well cut it is, how well proportioned it is. Then depending on which diamond you like, you can kind of balance the scales. Like, so for instance, you have an emerald cut. Emerald cuts have step cut facets. So the cuts in the diamond kind of look like a hall of mirrors. You really want to prioritize clarity when it comes to an emerald cut because you can see inclusions a lot more. But you might be able to compromise a little more on color because of how those facets reflect the light. So then if you had X budget, we would kind of want to balance it to get your ideal carat weight while also keeping clarity and color in a range that would make sense.
That was really helpful. Which part? I was listening to someone on TikTok the other day talking about something like crushed ice effect. Like which part of the C's does that refer to?
So that's a faceting pattern that's found in cushion cuts and radiant cuts. It's basically a type of faceting pattern that looks like if you looked into a bag of like crushed ice. So really tiny facets that have like kind of a glimmery sparkle. And that's just personal stylistic preference. So it's just a type of like faceting pattern and aesthetic. So some people love it and that's what they look for, and some people hate it and want something different. So
I was going to ask if it was a good or bad thing.
It's not a good or bad thing.
I couldn't figure it out.
It's kind of like the opposite of what an emerald cut faceting pattern would look like.
By the way, I just want to mention, like, one thing that I loved about my experience working with you guys was that there was so much, well, like education and like options. Like you guys showed me so many different options. But most importantly, because I was in a unique position. I was coming in and basically like getting my own engagement ring on my own, but was already engaged. You know what I mean? And I like knew what the budget was and like knew, like I didn't even have to include Andy in it. And you guys were so transparent about pricing. And I really appreciated that because I mean, I really didn't shop around. Like I had multiple people tell me to go to you guys. And my experience was good on the first call. So I was like, let's just do this. But I feel like people are not price transparent in this industry. And like they're obviously always trying to upsell you, like, duh, it's a business. But I really, really enjoyed that you guys were like, okay, this is in your budget, under your budget. Like this would be, you know, a little bit more like, here are all of your options. And so I really appreciated that because I don't feel like that is like a common practice in this industry.
Well, that's what's interesting because like historically the diamond industry has this like shady, opaque like reputation, and I think that's why we found like a niche and a white space when we came in with education and educational content and price transparency, because I think it was at the time where, you know, Instagram, social media became a thing, and then it was always taboo to like talk about pricing openly with clients, or, you know, discuss, like, I'll post the price of something. It's
I
not
know,
like,
and I love that.
It's not like each client gets a different price, but that's like how it historically and still kind of is in the industry with a lot of places. And then we can get into like the whole crux of like the new like Diamond Con, because when price transparency became more of a thing through like social media and sharing of information, then obviously margins get smaller and people are trying to find like a new way to like screw their client, you know? And that's something that when we started, like when I started the blog and when I started the business, like my whole goal was to be and provide as much education to empower our clients so they can make like the best decision possible for them, because I wanted to talk to each person like they were my best friend, and like I would give them the advice like as if my best friend was shopping for a ring, because that's how I started.
Like keeping it real. And you were like, even when I came in, I was like, I loved one of the stones that you showed me, and like I don't know shit about fuck. Like I literally was like, this ring is this. The one that I picked, I was like, this one is big and sparkly and I like it. And you were like, okay, this one is bigger. This one is a little bit smaller, but it's like more flawless, but it's more expensive. And I was like, I don't care, I want bigger. And you were like, okay, like just know like XYZ, you know? And I really appreciated that. And I also loved that I would look at your social media and that you had prices posted, whereas every other like,
it's like DM to like,
oh my God, you have to submit a form and give your social security number. And I literally was like, this is so insane to go through these hoops just to get like a rough range of pricing. So it's crazy out there. I also want to talk about engagement ring trends.
Yes.
Because we're seeing a lot of like new things, like the marquee cut. Like what is happening? Like what are you seeing? What's hot in the world of engagement rings right now?
It's changing so much, which I think is so cool, because I feel like for a few years it was, you know, we hadn't seen like a lot of like fresh new trends. I think right now what's really trendy in terms, like we can start with shape and then go to style.
Okay.
So shapes people are really gravitating towards like more unique shapes. So fancy shapes in general are really popular, but people are looking for like very unique, one of a kind things. So antique cuts are really popular, specifically like elongated cushion cuts, elongated antique cushion cuts, and even specialty cuts like Chris cuts or like elongated hexagons. Like people are really looking for something that they haven't like seen before,
like different than the usual.
Yeah, that's why I think marquees are becoming popular again. I know Selena Gomez just got one, but I think people are like, okay, I love an elongated shape, I want some sparkle, but maybe I don't want an oval because it's too classic or too popular, so I want like a marquee is a great option, and they look like huge for their carat weight. Emerald cuts are really popular even though they are like a classic. But I think people are just, new things are starting to become more popular. So the trends come and go. In terms of styles, I think yellow gold has been like our number one most popular metal color for a while. But I think now people were really into super thin engagement rings, and now everyone wants them super thick.
Like so thick and like shaped. And honestly, it's so cool.
Yeah.
It has me rethinking everything, which I need to just unsubscribe, because you know that I'm like here, there, and everywhere. I'm seeing the coolest rings I've ever seen that no one else will have.
Yeah.
It is incredible. People are getting so creative.
So people are going like really bold, like sculptural, organic, like just kind of out there, like really non-traditional bridal for their engagement rings. And we're coming out with like a whole new line of signature styles that are all kind of in that realm too.
Of engagement rings?
Yeah, like everything we do is custom, but just to give like our clients some inspiration. If they to envision something different.
I also like that you can kind of like go whatever route you want to go. What about the bezel of it all? Do we think that's out?
No, bezels are very much still in.
Okay.
Bezel sets are so popular, and now we're seeing different types of bezel sets that are becoming popular, not just like the classic bezel set. We're seeing like button back bezels.
What's that?
Like Zoe Kravitz and Zendaya just had a button back bezel for their engagement rings. It's like kind of like a vintage, like.
That sounds so. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
They have like tiny little prongs.
Okay, beautiful.
And then we have like the really rounded, like bubbly bezels. So lots of different versions are coming.
I just feel like we're headed in a very cool direction with jewelry, and I'm like so happy to be here because I just got here to wearing jewelry. Like I still don't really know what I'm doing jewelry-wise.
Your jewelry is super cool.
I just throw everything on that I own and hope it works out.
No, it's working.
And I like think that is serving me for right now, but I'm still finding my groove. But like it's just such a cool time to be wearing jewelry or buying jewelry. There's so many options. Like you can go the classic route. You can go maximalist. And like, I feel like that's what we're seeing with a lot of engagement
And
rings.
I think if you're not like ready to commit to like a really funky engagement ring, you can get a very classic ring like yours and style it with lots of different bands to create like a maximalist style or like a specific aesthetic. Like you don't have, if you don't want to commit your engagement ring to that. But also if you do want to go really trendy with the style, just know like you can always reset your diamond. You're not married to that style. In 10 years, if you're like, oh my God, this is so 2025, that's okay, you know?
Yeah, I agree that like starting simple and then potentially like evolving with your ring is probably the best place to start if you're like unsure as
your investment
to what
is
you
the
want.
stone, and then you can always change the setting out.
Right. Okay, so I want to take a step back. I got some questions on Instagram, and a lot of them, this one like surprised me, but it was actually a pretty good question. Someone asked like, is it rude to go to a jeweler and like try on rings if you're like not necessarily like at the point where your partner is 100% going to propose in like the next like 6 months, but like you just want to like get it off your chest and like scratch the itch of trying on rings? Like, is that bad?
I don't think it's rude. I think that as long as you're like transparent with what you're doing, that's part of the process, right? I think like any jeweler would like if that when the time did come, you would come back to them. But I think like it's part of the process. Like I think it's a really fun time. And a lot of our clients have come in for preliminary appointments 6 months, even a year before, and then have come back and got their rings when they're ready.
Okay, that makes sense. That's what I was thinking, because it's like you got to go. Everyone says go try them on. But then it's like, where do you go? Like, when do you go?
I appreciate when someone's like, hey, I'm like 6 months out or longer, but I just want to know what I want. I want you to like keep all my records and take my ring size and whatever, and I'll be back and let you know when the time's right. Like, I appreciate that transparency.
And is that like the process? Like if someone wants to come to the Clear Cut, which you guys are based in New York, so go. Like someone just fills out like an intake form and then they like come in and try things on. Like how does that work?
So we have a really unique process. So we like everyone to schedule a call with a gemologist, like you probably did. And so we want to like build that personal connection, really understand what you're looking for, help answer any questions you have, walk you through our process. And then our process is really unique because it's very like personalized and tailored. So we don't just have like inventory or stock like laying around that we would sell you. Based on your preferences and what we recommend, we get everyone set up in our gem portal, which is like...
I loved that, by the way.
Thank you.
It was so like tech forward thinking in like an outdated industry. Keep going.
So yeah, this is our software that we built. So everyone has their own portal. You can message your gemologist right in there, but we hand pick a selection of loose diamonds that we literally see in person, make sure it's up to our quality standards, then send that to you virtually to get your feedback. Most of our clients we do the whole process virtually with, but if you want to come into the showroom to see those diamonds, we'd love for you to come in, take a look, sit down with your gemologist. We'll continue curating diamonds until we land on that perfect one. So there's not like, oh, you only get 3 and then like that's that.
Yeah.
So it's a really collaborative process. Once we pick your diamond, then we create your custom ring around it, and then that takes a couple weeks, and then once that's done, you see it and we ship it off to you.
I loved seeing it in the portal. Like once it was done, I was like, oh my God. Because I kept having this thought. I was like, something's going to happen. Like insurance is going to say, no, you're just stupid. You lost your ring in your apartment. Like you're not getting a new ring. And when I saw it, finished product in the gem portal, I was like, this is Christmas. Like this is the best day of my life. Okay, so that's great to know that that's like kind of the process with the Clear Cut.
But if you're not ready to go through the curation process, we offer preliminary appointments, and that's a different kind of appointment where we basically show you what we have around that we've curated for other clients to just understand like what are you looking for, like what carat, what shape, like all of that kind of stuff. And then we'll like keep your notes till you're ready to get a curation done.
And what are your like general tips for someone who's like starting the process of looking? Like should they come in like with an idea of what they want? I know one of mine is that like you should look with wedding bands. Like you should look at the ring that you think you want with a wedding band.
Yes. And a lot of those like new funky designs don't really go with wedding bands, so you should think about that ahead of time.
That was
too.
when we were talking about that, I'm like, but what do people do?
See, I wear my wedding band on my other hand because it just doesn't go with my ring, and I couldn't find anything to go with my ring.
That's what a lot of people are doing too. And I'm like, I got so wrapped up in trying to find something that worked specifically with the ring, but now I'm like, you can just really do whatever you want these days.
There's no rules.
There's no rules. But other than the wedding band, like should people come in with an idea?
I like people to come in with 1 to 3 shapes max, like, of what you have an idea. So, like, maybe go to, like, a store or something that has rings already set that you can, like, try and be like, no, 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 yes, 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 maybe. And it's always good if you have an idea of, like, a top line budget. So, like, you don't see something that you, like, fall in love with that, like, you will never get over, you know?
Yeah, and that can be tricky. And I honestly don't know. I didn't do this with Andy at all. I just like sent him. I literally ordered a ring on Amazon that I saw a Pinterest photo of a ring, and I said, I want exactly this because I ordered it on Amazon. It looked good on my finger, and that's what he got me. So we like didn't like have that kind of conversation. And obviously, it's very personal. Everyone's financial situation is so different. But do you have any like general guidance on like how to navigate that kind of conversation with your partner? Because it's like awkward, you know?
It's awkward, but I also think like this is like the first step to getting married, right?
Yeah.
So like
Get
there's going to
comfy.
be a lot more awkward conversations, and you're probably going to share your financial situation with them.
Yep.
So you can look forward. It's the first of many awkward conversations, and it's fun because it's around diamonds.
I love that. I love that. That's such a good point. I think it's also like something that should be, I know everyone has like different preferences on the level of transparency and like inclusion that they want in their proposal, or
and that's personal too. Like most of our clients will work together to a certain point and are pretty involved because they like specifically know what they want. But then some people don't want to be involved at all, and some people like will go like 50-50 into the ring together, you know?
Yeah.
So there's a whole spectrum of what is right and what is acceptable.
right. And in this world, I feel like it's so easy to get bogged down with like what the norm is, but you really have to remember, not just with the engagement rings, but with weddings too, like you really can do whatever you want. Like there are no rules. And sometimes you just have to tune out the noise. Like when it comes to the ring, when it comes to the wedding, and eventually like kids, I can't even imagine, it's probably so much noise that comes with kids and like unsolicited advice. Like just do whatever you want. Like if you want to know exactly what ring you're getting, you want to be there every step of the way, like do that. If you want to not be included at all and be totally surprised, do that. But I will also say, remember, the person proposing is also the one they're proposing for the first time too. Like this is their,
And like when you plan a wedding, it's the first time you're planning a wedding.
Totally. I mean, in some cases, maybe not, but like
a lot of the times.
A lot of the times, yes. And like that's what I always tell my friends who are like really excited to get engaged, or like are kind of like, getting to that point where they want to be annoying. And I get that because I was so annoying, which I don't know why, because I was a child. You have to remember, like, this is also their experience. It's like not all about you. It's about them too. But so just like be simpatico, like have conversations. And you're so right. Like having the conversation around budget is awkward, but like it shouldn't be the first awkward conversation you have. And
it won't be the last.
And it definitely will not be the last,
Yeah.
especially around money if you're getting married. Like, buckle up, I want to know, like, how did you choose your ring?
I chose it when I was 8 years old.
Stop? What? Stop it?
This ring, so my parents were in antique jewelry, and this ring was a ring that was in my mom's inventory, and I saw it when I was 8 years old, and I was like, can you save that for me for my engagement ring? I'm obsessed with it. And she was like, no, your husband has to get you your own ring. But I guess she did save it for me, and when we were getting engaged, we had just started our business, and we had $0. We had literally no money, and Kyle went to ask for permission, and she was like, don't worry, I have a ring for you. So when he proposed, it was a really big surprise. I thought I would design my own ring, so I wasn't like, you have to surprise me, but
oh my God, she like long-term gaslit you.
Yeah.
She was like, ha, psych, you're not getting it, and then surprise, you got it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Wow, she was really thinking ahead with that.
Maybe it was like a backup, like in case.
Just in case of emergencies.
Yeah.
I do have this one that she requested when she was literally 8 years old.
Yeah.
That's crazy. You mentioned you're going to Botswana next week.
I might. I don't know.
Okay.
I find out these things like really last minute.
Have you, just like a last minute trip to Botswana? Have you been before?
Yes, I've been like 4 times.
What is that like? What is the game plan like when you're there? Like what have you?
It's different every time, but Botswana is the #1 largest diamond producing country in the world, and it's like an example of what the positive impacts natural diamonds have, which I think a lot of people, don't know about or have like misconceptions around.
We should touch on that. I love that. That's a perfect segue. What are some of the misconceptions?
So a lot of the people in like my comments or DMs and stuff. Still think like blood diamonds are a thing, that like children are mining, or like they're slaves mining diamonds. Like there's a lot of misinformation around that, when like in actuality, like natural diamonds are probably the most regulated natural resource out there, like far more than, the lithium batteries in our phone, or even the gold, like we set our diamonds into. And they literally lift up like entire countries' economies, and people rely on them for their livelihoods, and a lot.
You were just telling me about the education piece too, that I had no idea, because I'm not educated on this at all.
Quick history on Botswana. So they discovered diamonds post a colonial time. So they have full control over their natural resources. Natural diamonds contribute to most of their economy. Every single person in Botswana goes to school for free, like their entire lives. Like the president went to Harvard, and that was paid for free through natural diamonds. They also get like a stipend when they go off to university through natural diamonds. So there's no student debt. Like that doesn't exist there.
What a concept.
Healthcare is completely free, and like first class healthcare. All the infrastructure, the roads, like buildings, everything's paid for through natural diamonds. 2/3 of the country are set aside for like wildlife conservation. They have the most elephants in the entire world, and some of the best safaris in the whole world, and that's like because of natural diamonds. So it really like is an example of all of the positive impacts these amazing natural resources have,
and how they fuel their economy.
Yeah, completely.
In an insane way.
Insanely.
Wow. Okay. That's a good segue into like the hot topic and hot button conversation of the lab grown versus natural diamond conversation, which we'll just lead with this. Okay. My stance is everyone should do exactly as they want. Like I said before, like I think that lab grown diamonds, based on the very like little and just kind of like broad details that I understand about them, they have created an interesting space in, the market and given people the opportunity to like be able to like experiment in jewelry, like not engagement rings or not wedding bands, like not wedding related at all. But also, people can get the ring that they have always dreamed of at a fraction of the price. And we were talking a little bit about this before. There's the only thing that I have an issue with, I don't take like a serious personal issue with it, but like the thing that I find concerning is some of like the insane price gouging that comes with this new market of lab grown diamonds. And I wanted to lead with that because like this is not like a takedown of lab grown diamonds segment. Like we just do whatever you want. But I do think there is an opportunity to inform people and educate people on what to be aware of when they are considering, a natural diamond versus a lab-grown diamond and all that jazz. So
totally. And I think like we should never like shame the consumer, and it's not the consumer's fault. Like what I like to do is like bring just attention and awareness to like misinformation around like marketing practices, and also like potential like fraudulent practices like from like retailers and jewelers that are selling these. So like kind of like backtracking to what we were saying before about like price transparency and like education around like diamonds. Before, again, it was super opaque. Like people didn't know how much things cost. Like each client had a different price, and like through social media and like the internet, like our goal was always to educate and like make sure our customers were really well informed before going to make this big purchase. And so same thing goes when it comes to lab grown versus natural diamonds. Most people out there, like the marketing is going to say that it's more sustainable, more ethical, that natural diamonds are blood diamonds. And we kind of just addressed how natural diamonds are not blood diamonds. But these are mass manufactured diamonds that are made in factories in mainly India and China using insane amounts of methane gas, fossil fuels, and questionable working environments.
like they didn't just get here.
And they're made in like limitless amounts, whereas natural diamonds are formed under the Earth's surface over billions of years, and they are a finite resource. Like people will say like, oh, like natural diamonds are not finite. Natural diamonds in gem quality, which is the quality we use for jewelry, are very rare and they are finite. A lot of the other ones you'll find they're going to be for industrial purposes. Most of these mines too, like in Botswana, they only have 20 more years left in their production. So in the next 20 to 30 years, a lot of these mines will close down. There will be no more natural diamonds. One of the biggest mines in Canada and Australia, the Argyle mine, just shut down because there's no more diamonds left.
This was one of my questions. Yeah. I was going to say, is this a dumb question? Like, how are we finding more?
There haven't been new diamonds found in the recent, the last 2 decades.
What?
Yeah. So they're always looking for more kimberlite pipes and places that new pockets where natural diamonds can be found, but there haven't been any new ones found, and a lot of the existing mines have been depleted or will be depleted in the next 20, 30 years.
That is crazy.
But anyway, we can go back.
Yeah.
So the fact is, the main difference is we give away a lab-grown diamond to each of our clients for a travel ring, so a free lab-grown diamond. And that's because we're buying them wholesale for less than $100 a carat, and that's polished, certified, done. If we bought them in bulk, we could get them for $30 to $50 a carat. But another jeweler across the street is going to sell that to someone for thousands of dollars, and that's the main difference. That the markup, and it's fueled by the industry because it's so much easier to sell because you can say this is more ethical, this is more sustainable, this is cheaper, and make 20,000% margin. Whereas if were selling natural diamonds, it's a harder sell, and you're probably making 10-20% margin.
Yeah, people have a lot to say on the subject, and I don't have a ton of facts. I don't have a ton of research under my belt that I've done on lab-grown diamonds versus natural diamonds. I have friends with lab-grown diamonds, and to me to the naked eye it looks the same. I mean, maybe you could tell, but I think they look pretty much the same. The only thing that I literally have to just argue with is I know people who have bought lab-grown rings for absolutely astronomical prices, and obviously the argument people make, and probably your trolls in your comments are well, why would anyone want to resell their engagement ring?
It happens sometimes.
Yeah. What's your rebuttal to that?
You don't go into an engagement thinking that you're going to break up ever. And that's never what you hope for. But after being in this industry for a while, it happens quite often. And it's nice when you can have something to fall back on. Everyone's going to be oh, well, the resale value for natural is terrible. I bought it for X, and then I only got this much back. It depends on where you buy it from, just like it depends on where you buy your lab-grown diamonds from too, So if you buy it from someone that is reasonably priced and isn't price gouging you, you're going to get some value for it back, and a lot more than you can't get anything for a lab-grown diamond back. It's zero.
I have a question. Why is that? Why is the resale value so low?
There's an infinite amount that can be made. It's not rare. Right. It's not finite. It is a great product if you want, I've seen people on TikTok buying it on resale sites Everything But the House or whatever for $200. That's how much it should cost to make fun jewelry, and that's amazing. I think if you're paying the appropriate amount for it, it's a great way to get into jewelry and get into diamonds, but you just shouldn't be taken advantage of, and that's something to be aware of when you're going into purchasing, making sure you just have all the information.
What is the app, if I wanted to go buy a 3-carat lab grown almost colorless emerald tomorrow, what
$300. And I can show you priceless. I've shown my invoices on TikTok, and people just do not believe me, because this is the thing, an engagement ring has so much emotional it's not just any other piece. It's an important piece of jewelry. So no one wants to pay more for the dinner that they're going to celebrate their engagement with than their engagement ring. You know what I mean? So people want to pay more for this piece.
Because there's a mindset around it. And I think especially if you're going lab grown, you feel if it were me, I would be no, spend the least amount of money if you're going lab grown, make sure that you're not overpaying. But I think for a lot of people, they have this mindset okay, well, I'm already going a more price effective route. I should still definitely feel it hit my pocket hard.
They want to spend $3,000 to $5,000, not $300 to $500.
And yes.
Even though that's how much it costs.
And listen, I understand like some of these people who are selling lab grown rings, like it's a business, of course, like, and if it, cost you like $100 to make it, like, okay, like if you charged $1,500, like that's still crazy, but go off. But I know people spending $15,000+ on lab grown rings.
And that's like a crime.
And that's, to me, feels like the consumer is being taken advantage of. It has nothing to do with what I think of the ring on your finger. It has to do with the amount of money that you're spending and making like a conscious, educated decision around it.
And I've heard stories of like jewelers like taking someone's like 1 carat natural and like trading it in for a 3 carat lab, and that's just like straight up fraud.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right to me.
But historically, I think people don't know that there have been lab grown or synthetic like emeralds, rubies, sapphires for hundreds of years. And what has happened? It's the same thing. They're chemically the same, like they look beautiful, but it hasn't like crushed the natural gemstone market. I think over time, because of the pricing, it's just two separate things. Like there's still going to be rare, beautiful gemstones that you buy for occasions, and then you can go to Costco and get a synthetic emerald ring or like buy it on QVC, and that's like, it's just a different market.
What is this doing to the price of natural diamonds?
So natural diamond prices have come down, not as significantly. Lab grown has come down like 99%, but natural diamond pricing was at an all-time high post-COVID for so many different reasons. High demand, lack of supply, but now they've come down probably closer to like 2018, 2019 pricing. So it's like a really good time to buy.
It's a really good time to buy a diamond. Like that's what I'm hearing is a great time to buy diamonds.
You can get a lot more for your money right now. Like sometimes people are charging like not that much different for a lab grown than a natural at this point.
Yeah. Wow. It's just like a really interesting time. And I think I really appreciate that point of view because I like what you said, not shaming the consumer. I think people take it so personally.
Yeah.
They think it's an attack on them, and it's not an attack on them. Like, you didn't do anything wrong. Like, do whatever you want with your money, but know what
you're getting into.
Yes.
And know, like, what a fair value should be.
Yes. And again, I like for a lot of people, I just think it's awesome that there is a world now where they can have like the ring that they always dreamed of at an affordable price, but like, as we just said, it should be at an affordable price. Like, if you're going to go that route,
people buying like 3 carat, 4 carat lab growns for like $15,000-$20,000.
Same, which is insane to me.
That's insane.
Because at this point, then just go
get like
natural or go a little smaller and go natural.
Yeah.
But I mean, to each their own. And I know people have like the ethical argument. I don't think that they probably have as much.
And I think it's like a little bit of fault on like the natural industry. People are like, oh, Big Diamond. Like Big Diamond hasn't done anything to tell the story of diamonds.
Right. Like
they've done a terrible job and like have fallen behind like all of this misinformation and think people are just going to like, there's no like cartel anymore. Like there's no one controlling it. Like it's a free market. That's why prices go up and down now. That's why no one's like doing like a whole marketing campaign around it. So it's not like what it used to be.
Yeah. It's a crazy world out there.
Yeah. So we're here to just spread facts.
Information.
Yeah.
Yes, facts.
So you can make whatever choice you want to make.
But I also think because of the emergence of lab-grown diamonds, people used to want to have like these big ass rings. Like I won't even lie. Like I'll be fully honest. Like when I came in and I was like, okay, I have the opportunity to start from scratch. I was like, give me like the biggest one we can get done. Like that's what I wanted, like a rock. And now I think the rock, like, and the size of the ring has like, it's no longer like a status symbol. Like it used to be like this like crazy status symbol. But now I look at someone's ring, I see it's huge and I'm like, I just assume everyone's ring is lab grown at this point. Just like I assume like everyone's on Ozempic. I just don't like, like I don't know what else. It's not a bad thing, but it's just what I think.
And I think that's why people are gravitating towards like more unique cuts, like more like interesting designs, things like that to like set it apart from just being like a big rock on a ring. But also if you go to the clear cut, then you'll know it's a natural diamond.
Yes, that is like why did you make that decision, by the way? to just stick to your guns.
It's crazy because like I could have made so much money selling
Right.
lab grown diamonds, and people are like, oh, it's because like your husband owns a mine in Africa, which is not true. Like
Wait, they think that?
that's like a whole Reddit thing.
Oh my God. Okay, he doesn't. That would be crazy.
Yeah. So
His name is Kyle. Like he does.
So it really is like, why did I make this like choice? And it's kind of stems back to what I told you about like why we started the business. Like I started the business to give like to advocate for like my clients, like they're my friends, and I would never like give advice or sway someone to do something I wouldn't recommend them doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of just started that way, and we like just never backtracked on our like ethics and morals behind it. Like natural diamonds are so important to me, especially like seeing the effects like firsthand, like going to Africa, like speaking to people from diamond producing countries and how important it is to them, and then also just knowing and like advocating for the consumer. So that's why we decided to not, but I could, like, it's not like I'm like owned by someone who like is telling me not to.
No, I think you have a lot of integrity, and
Thank you.
I think the trolls in the comments like making the like trying to fight with you over lab grown diamonds, like I think that's a good story for them to hear, because you could be making
tens of millions
yes,
of dollars.
you could be making so much money slinging lab grown diamonds.
Sometimes I'm like, you know what, fuck it, should I have done that? Like, was this a bad decision?
I was just gonna say, and like you also could have, you've been very outspoken about it, and you could have easily like seen like the like negative feedback or the trolls or whatever, and been like, okay, I'm just gonna like play nice in the sandbox and like backtrack and
or
then
like
sell
it on the side and like not talk about it, which a lot of people do too.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's shady business. I don't like that. I don't like that one bit. Okay, to close it out, I want to ask you what are your predictions for like bridal or ring trends in the next couple of years? Like, what do you think is going to be like the new hot thing?
The new hot thing, I think, kind of what we were going off of. I think like really like bold gold, like almost like cocktail style rings are going to be like the new bridal style, like the new default. We're seeing like a lot of like domed rings, almost like signet style rings. If you saw like Dua Lipa's engagement ring, like that kind of style. And then I don't think people are going to be as stringent on like wedding band etiquette as much as they used to be, because of like people getting funkier with their engagement ring styles. So there's going to be like less like rules around like how or should you wear like your wedding band. And I think like with weddings too, I think people are like kind of gravitating towards like not having like bridal parties or not following like traditions as much. Like I think we're seeing a huge shift away from traditional like elements in weddings.
I completely agree. I also think that's where things are headed with weddings.
Yeah.
With the rings, I knew nothing, but that sounded amazing. I like also think another interesting effect of the lab grown thing that we were talking about, with how the significance of like the carat weight, like it's just like everyone has like a huge rock on their finger these days. I actually think that's created like a very interesting opportunity for people to be very creative with their engagement ring, because they're not like so focused on having like the biggest ring on the thinnest band.
A new phenomenon we've also seen is that with the rise of lab grown and having like these huge like perfect quality, is that people like aren't minding going like lower in color or even clarity, because they're like, oh, then people will know like it's natural. Which is like an interesting phenomenon I didn't foresee.
Right, because people were always coming in being like,
I want the highest quality, I want this, and now everyone's like, I want something like different and unique and something that's gonna like stand out, and, you know?
Yeah, it's a cool time we're living in.
Yeah.
And finally, like if you were just in like a crazy, just universe where it was just full of hypotheticals, if you were gonna like reset my ring today, like just take like this stone and just do something completely different with it, and
but your
it wasn't
ring is so beautiful.
No, it's perfect. But I'm just curious, like from a creative lens, like based on like what is cool today, like what would you do to this if you just had like creative freedom with this emerald?
I think that it would look really sick in one of our new signature styles that's coming out, but like a bubbly bezel. It would look really cool. I'll show you a photo of what that looks like.
Okay, cool. I mean, you might be hearing from me. I selfishly asked you that question because I'm like, I'm bored. Should I do something? Even though I am obsessed with this, and like I get so many compliments on it. Like,
yeah, and the beauty of this is that you can stack it and style it however you want and make it look like a completely different
ring.
style.
Yeah. I love those bands that like they have like the different, what are they, like when they're curved.
Yeah.
And then you have multiple.
Yeah.
I love cool.
I think we're going to see more of that kind of stuff too.
Thank you so much for coming on. You are such a powerhouse. You know so many things about so many things.
I actually know just so many things about like one specific thing.
Yeah, but like honestly, it's so rare these days to like have someone be an expert on one thing. Like everyone's just trying to be a jack of all trades, master of none. That's me. But so I appreciate you coming on, and thank you for making like the ring of my dreams. I appreciate you so much. Oh my God,
this was so much fun.
And where can everyone find you?
You can find us at The Clear Cut on TikTok and Instagram, or at theclearcut.co online.
And you?
Oh, me at Olivia Landau.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. You're the best. Yay!
Yay!
Thank you so much.